So to kick things off, I'm just going to introduce myself. So I've always been a foodie. I've always been into my sports. I was lucky enough to be brought up on a very healthy diet and a very balanced diet, I'd say. And I was a very sporty kid. I was a gymnast and a swimmer as well. And then kind of got led to CrossFit in the last year or so. I'm a registered associate nutritionist with the Association for Nutrition. So I did a degree in nutrition followed by a master's in clinical nutrition and eating disorders. I'm now part of the PH team. So I started with Liam about a year ago now, and I work one-to-one with clients through PH. I'm based at CrossFit Putney, where I also coach. And then alongside all of that, I also do a lot of brand work and corporate work as well. So to kick things off, we're going to start with talking about our cycles. So training and nutrition through the cycle. So to kick things off, what is the menstrual cycle? So just a little bit of background. Our menstrual cycle is the hormonal process that we go through each month to prepare for a possible pregnancy. Regular periods from kind of puberty all the way to menopause are a sign that our body is functioning pretty normally. Our cycle is made up of our menstrual phase, so your period, then the follicular phase, our ovulation day, and then the luteal phase. And these phases are primarily driven by changes in two main hormones, estrogen and progesterone. So today, I'm just going to mainly talk about those two hormones. So before we start, I want to make something very, very clear. We are all very unique, and this will kind of run throughout all three presentations this morning. We're very, very unique individuals. So what might help someone may not necessarily help someone else. And what someone might experience or feel might actually be unheard of for someone else. It might be complete, like they've never even experienced it or known about it, okay? So just want to make that very clear that we're all very, very unique. And this is why we really, really encourage you guys to get to know your bodies, understand your bodies, find what works for you. And also just start tracking your cycles, start tracking your feelings, your emotions, how you feel in your training, your recovery, and just really getting to understand your body. So phase one is our menstruation phase. This is our period, so our monthly bleed, okay? And I have actually come up with 3 different ways of kind of breaking down our cycle in terms of training. So I have called the menstruation phase the maintenance phase. And this is based off the research we have, but also based off my experience with clients and also my own personal experience as well. So menstruation, our maintenance phase. Now, the reason I've called it the maintenance phase, is because for some people, when you hit day 1 of your period, you might wake up and think, do you know what? I really don't want to train. I just could happily lie in bed all morning, watch Netflix. I don't want to move. Whereas someone else might feel like day 1 of their period, oh, I could go for a run. Oh, I could, do a normal session. So that's why maintenance. So just try and kind of see how your body feels, see what your body wants to do, and then just work with your body. So listen to your body, keep yourself moving. So have your general movement, maybe look at more skill work. So things like your gymnastics, maybe your barbell, like light barbell work. And then a big one is mobility. Just keep your body moving as much as you can throughout this time. So really the main takeaway is just see how you feel. 1 month might be very different to another month in terms of how you're actually feeling throughout your period. Okay, so just kind of listen to your body. In terms of nutrition through our menstruation phase, okay, so estrogen and progesterone, the 2 hormones I mentioned at the start, are at their lowest right now, which could mean that we have an increased susceptibility to infection and inflammation. So in terms of nutrition, we want to be looking at our immune boosting foods, so foods to support our immune system functioning, and also our anti-inflammatory foods. As well as this, because we are obviously losing blood, we want to look at some iron-rich foods in there as well. So how does this look? So immune boosting foods, so fruits and veg, the wider the variety, the better, the wider variety of colors, the better. That's going to make sure you're getting plenty of all your antioxidants in there, all your vitamins and minerals. Herbs and spices can be quite good as well to include. You can include things like ginger, garlic, turmeric in your cooking. Vitamin D is a big one, and you guys will probably see that we bash on about vitamin D all the time, but during the winter months, we are all recommended to be taking a supplement simply because we just don't see the sun in this country in the winter months, our main source of vitamin D, and we just can't get the amount we need through foods alone. So a supplement is recommended. So if you're not taking one at the moment, guys, I really strongly encourage you to get yourself one. Nuts and seeds as well provide plenty of vitamins and minerals. Big one is vitamin E, one of our antioxidants as well. And you'll find that in plenty of your nuts and seeds. Then you want to be looking at your anti-inflammatory foods as well. So again, plenty of fruit and veg, wider variety, the better. Omega-3 rich foods, so your olive oil, avocado, again, nuts and seeds like we said before. You might want to consider an omega supplement. There's plenty of evidence that an omega supplement can be very beneficial, particularly if you're not getting enough through your foods alone, and maybe as well if you are on a plant-based diet too. And then we want to reduce our pro-inflammatory foods. So all of our kind of foods that are highly processed, high in saturated fats, high in sugars. Okay, we want to think about reducing those as much as possible. Then iron-rich foods as well, so our meats and poultry. You can get plenty of breakfast cereals that are actually fortified with iron as well, which is quite good. And then tofu, lentils, and beans, all really good sources of iron. And a big thing to note, vitamin C can help with the absorption of our plant-based sources of iron. So if you're, making a lentil or bean curry, mixing in some spinach or some red peppers into your curry can actually help with the absorption there of the iron in those plant foods. In terms of an iron supplement, it's kind of thrown around a bit. Should you take one during your period as you're losing blood? There isn't any need for a supplement unless you do have a diagnosed deficiency in iron. So you don't need to be taking a supplement there. Just if you have heavier periods, I just suggest really trying to incorporate more iron-rich foods just so you're having enough in there. Moving on then to phase 2, which is the follicular phase. And then I've called this phase the test phase. So we've gone from our maintenance and now we're kind of in our test phase. So a little bit of what's going on. So estrogen is starting to rise now to reach a peak just before ovulation, and progesterone is remaining quite low. This should feel like the best time in the month. This should be like, you're feeling good, you're feeling energized, you've got that motivation to train. Power output should increase. We might see more stable blood sugar levels as well. So the reason I've called it the test phase, okay, give yourself that opportunity. Really just test your body, push a little bit harder, maybe increase the intensity in workouts. If you are looking to kind of build strength and go for PBs, this is kind of the time to be doing that. Again, just listen to your body. Like if you're getting up and you've got all the motivation and you're feeling really energized, then just why not test yourself? Just encourage yourself to push that little bit harder. In terms of nutrition, so obviously if you are pushing yourself a little bit harder, your training intensity has gone up a bit, then obviously we want to be supporting our training and our recovery as much as possible through foods. So again, anti-inflammatory foods are going to be really important for recovery. Perhaps if you are really increasing the intensity of training, you want to be increasing your calories and maybe your carbohydrates through this point too, just to make sure you've got enough fuel in the tank, you are energizing as much as you can before you go in. Protein's obviously going to be really important, especially if you are going for kind of heavier lifts, you are going for PBs and stuff, and you are training a little bit more, then we want to make sure that protein is in line with that. Estrogen can actually suppress appetite. So during this point, if you were, for example, in a calorie deficit, if you were looking to kind of reduce body fat, then this might be the time to really hammer down your meal structure, your portions, and just kind of really focus on this time, because you'll probably find it's a little bit easier to stick to your targets and stick to plan at this point in time. And then we go on to phase. So kind of before we go into the luteal, we obviously then have ovulation day. Ovulation day is only 24 hours, so we don't really need to tweak anything in terms of training and nutrition, as it is just that one day. So then we lead into the luteal phase, and I've labeled this one the recovery phase. So we've gone from our maintenance to test, and now we recover. So in the first half, we see estrogen drop and progesterone remains relatively high. And then in the second half, both decline. Okay, so we get that kind of spike in progesterone halfway through the luteal phase, and then both kind of a low right to the end. And that last, like the second half of your luteal phase, that's when you'll start to get your PMS symptoms kicking in. So things like maybe headaches, cramping, bloating, aches and pains, mood swings, and feeling a bit fatigued. Strength is likely to decline. A majority of the research shows that perhaps this is the time that strength is starting to decline, and maybe intensity as well. So we need to take that into consideration when we look at the foods as well. So recovery phase. Oh, still got more people coming in. So reduce the intensity of your training throughout this time. And don't put the pressure on yourself. This is a big thing I want to kind of stress, is we're going to have points where you walk into the gym and you're like, nah, not today. When you start your training, you're like, not feeling it. I want to walk out. Don't put your pressure on, don't put the pressure on yourself to continue if you don't feel up to it. You know, if you're trying for a lift and you can't hit a number that you know you can hit very easily, again, don't put the pressure on yourself. Just take it back, you know, give yourself a break. And that's why I've called this the recovery phase. So maybe you want to look at lowering the weight, increasing the reps. Maybe we just need to look at more of our walking and jogging and kind of lower intensity activity. And again, mobility, just keep yourself moving, keep yourself mobile as much as possible. Focus, use this time to focus on your mobility. In terms of our nutrition, so obviously if you have massively pulled back on intensity and kind of the amount you're training, then you might want to assess your calorie requirements. You might not need as much as you were maybe having in your follicular phase. You might then want to assess your carbohydrate intake. Maybe if you're not training as much or as intensely, you might not need as many carbohydrates. Protein intake, you definitely want to make sure you're having adequate protein, particularly if you aren't training as much. You want to obviously hold on to as much muscle as possible. So protein is going to be really important to maintain. We also want to control our energy levels. We might see more unstable blood glucose levels. So things like regulating your meals, having a good structure of meals and snacks across the day, structuring in your snacks, evenly distributing your protein across the day to help manage your energy, manage your hunger hormones across the day as well. And also incorporating plenty of fiber-rich sources of carbohydrates, because again, just going to control your energy, control your blood glucose across the day. And then increase healthy fats. So if you are, for example, going to reduce your carbohydrates a little bit, then you can increase your fats in accordance as well. And then again, you know, recovery fats are really important for our recovery too. So you want to make sure we've got plenty of those in. A couple of other things we see throughout this phase: food cravings are very, very normal. And it's very important to understand that they are normal. So it's about how we can manage and control them each month. So you want to listen to your body to some extent. You know, if you're craving something, it's trying to tell you that you need something maybe. but just try and go for the healthier option that will still give you the same fix. So if you're craving glucose, you're craving all the carbs, your body probably does want glucose, but there are better ways of getting that fix without smashing a tub of Ben and Jerry's every single night. So maybe looking at like sweet potatoes, porridge, whole grains, you're still going to get the same feeling, but it's just going to, you're going to get more nutrients in there as well. And you'll actually feel better afterwards than maybe if you've smashed a tub of Ben and Jerry's and lots of chocolate. Other things, what a really popular one with pH that I'm sure some people in here might have tried is our yogurt bowl. I'm putting a bit of dark chocolate, a bit of honey on there as well. Again, you're getting all those sweet things in there, but plenty of nutrients at the same time. Again, looking at your meal and snack structure will help control the cravings across the day. Be prepared, make it simpler for yourself. If you've got food prepared, snacks prepared in the house, and you don't have kind of a cupboard filled with chocolate and crisps and things, you're going to make it a lot easier for yourself. And just be consistent with your meal timings as well. Bloating is going to be quite common in this phase as well. So how can we control and manage it? I'd just say try and reduce kind of your highly processed foods, your fizzy drinks, make sure you're drinking plenty of water, and just keep yourself moving as well. And we see that spike in progesterone kind of halfway through the luteal phase, and progesterone actually can lead to constipation. So that's why as well, bloating can be quite common. So again, just making sure plenty of water, keep the body moving, and try and give yourself plenty of kind of wholesome foods rather than your processed foods. And then to finish off, we're just going to touch on PMS. So again, PMS is very, very common. So it's about how we can kind of understand and manage that. So if we're looking at our diet, you want to be including plenty of veg. I mean, I've said it a few times throughout, but plenty of veg, the wider the variety of colors, the better. We're just going to get plenty of anti-inflammatories in there, plenty of antioxidants to help reduce inflammation. Look at your sleep. So inadequate sleep can actually worsen symptoms. Also, that might lead to more cravings and kind of a lower mood if you haven't slept properly. So just make sure that you are getting a really good night's sleep. Stress can also enhance our symptoms and kind of make you feel, kind of create more inflammation in the body as well. So just trying to keep yourself nice and calm, do things to try and reduce your stress as much as possible. Keep yourself moving as much as possible. Finding ways to relax and calm, keeping yourself well hydrated, and then finally just reducing your processed foods and your kind of high fat, high saturated fats and high sugary foods as well. So that kind of leads to the end of my section on eating and training through the cycle. Do you have any questions at this point in time? I don't know, Claire, if we've had